for all.
Mr. Mayor, could I also ask for a prayer for Sam Petrie, fourth grade, or eighth grader at Jonesville? He's 14 years old and having some serious medical issues.
Thank you. Moment of silence, please. Thank you. Please proceed. Move, we have a motion to approve the agenda. Are there any additions or corrections?
So moved, Brenda Guy.
Second, Andy Penrose.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, names? Agenda has been approved. Our John Lovinger is going to try to answer some of the questions that were brought up from our last meeting.
I'm going to address the council rules of public comment. They are at the bottom of the first page of the agenda. Speakers are given one opportunity to speak to the council unless the mayor makes other additional opportunities at his discretion. Remarks are limited to 5 minutes per person. They should be limited to matters of public concern and matters before the council. Profane, vulgar, or abusive language will not be tolerated. Council members and staff will not respond to your questions or comments. This is not a debate. If you have questions for council members, you should approach your council member after the meeting to discuss those. They will not respond to your public comments. The mayor may call out of order any person who's being disorderly by speaking or otherwise disrupting the proceedings. If the person is warned and continues to act in a disorderly manner, they will not be allowed to continue to speak. The agenda contains a memorandum discussing general personnel procedures of the city. The city of Jonesville is a manager-council form of government. Those who are interested in how those personnel policies work should review that memorandum carefully. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to public comment. Dina, do a second.
Dean K. there is second, 308 West Street, 30-year taxpayer, falsely removed chief. I'm a man that does not appreciate lies, false accusations said about me. I've served my country honorably, I've served my community honorably. One person, multiple people, that had the need to make false reasons to remove me from the department that I've served for 25 years angers me. You've taken a person with true passion to help the community and turn that passion into true hatred. The people that would do this or let this happen. This council has been given a month to sort out and get to the root of the false accusations against me. I have not yet seen anything. Let me help you. My determination, there was no discussion about problems. I quote, the minute I walked in, you are terminated as chief, and we will no longer need your services in the fire department, end quote. Because I didn't deal with a personnel issue that the director was made aware of, and he didn't want to deal with it. Need I remind you that I was removed from administration duties on August 19, 2021, from the position of public safety director was made by the personnel committee. Then the second comment in my termination was, I quote, you caused him to lose money because of a Beck t-shirt deal, end quote. This accusation is slanderous and is totally a defamation of character, being that has been brought to light as a total lie since my termination. I would think that someone would retract or made it public or even private apology. It seems that as the statement came from an officer of the law and would have been investigated for facts before using it in my termination. I would advise the council to take action immediately, remove both Mike Lance and the city manager, Jeff Gray, for major misconduct and falsely accusing me of wrongdoing. I believe that this is a revenge termination by the city manager for speaking out against him in 2021. And Lance was the puppet for the show. It strikes me weird that the city manager would say, I quote, or the city mayor said, and I quote, "The relationship between the fire department and the city will never change until Dean is out," end quote. The termination is premeditated, false, and lies. At last council meeting, the council would not speak to personal issues, but your city manager will talk about it at the Rotary meeting. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that there was not 100% support for the removal by council. It is time that the council get the facts of the issue before someone else has to. And Lance, I've been evaluating you. You left the garage door open on your police department and responded to a call. And let's not overlap anymore. We're not covering all 3 shifts. And regarding my evaluation, you have no certification in the state of Michigan for my job title. For you to evaluate me means nothing. And that's why you had to make the things up.
Don Lawless?
My name's Don Lawless. I run Our Lives Matter on Facebook. I have approximately 121,000 followers. I was a past fireman for 16 years. I started out in Litchfield. I ran many calls with Chief Dean Adair. So I would like to say Chief Dean Adair is one of the hardest working fire chiefs I have ever met. The city has lost a great asset not only to the department but to the citizens as well. I've known Chief Adair for a few years as I was a firefighter for 16. Not under his leadership, but we worked on a few calls together. He gave us sweat and tears for 25 years just to get a slap in the face as a disgrace, and the city manager and city council should reverse their decision. And I do believe that the city manager should resign due to office misconduct immediately, and I stand with Chief Dean Adair.
Chad Wolf?
My name is Chad Wolf. I live on Jonesville Road, Moscow Township. Just a little bit of history behind me. I don't live in the city, but Jonesville has always been my home. My wife and I and both of my kids are K through 12 graduates of Jonesville. I volunteer with a handful of community service organizations within Jonesville, and I do not speak on their behalf tonight. I'm just letting you guys know that what I have witnessed and what where I live, what I do should hold some relevance tonight. As a Boy Scout leader, we could always count on Dean for anything and everything that we needed done to help promote our youth organization, our leadership organization, whether it was volunteering for special events or merit badges or other things. I truly do, from what I've seen, I truly do feel as though he was wrongfully terminated based on personal issues that you guys have to sort out on your own. I know from where I live, we could always count on Jonesville to be support to Moscow Township Fire Department. I've seen it several occasions, a handful of them where Jonesville will actually be them there, but I just hope that you guys understand by not having Dean lead your fire department that I feel that the community's not as safe as it once was. And I don't agree with your guys' decision. I do implore all of the citizens of the city, all the voting citizens, next elections, guys, I can't vote, but next elections, incumbents need to go. And, I will challenge every one of you guys to do that. But, I truly do feel that this termination was wrong. He's been an asset to this entire county and beyond, his entire career. So, I'm saddened in what has happened to what I call my hometown.
Robert R., I can't make out the last name.
I think it's Mr. Finnegan.
Michigan?
Sorry.
I'll yield my time. I agree with what's been said here, so I'm in support of Dean as our fire chief.
Lisa Adair.
Lisa Adair, 308 West Street, Jonesville, city resident, taxpayer. What is the meaning of the word interim? Interim is a Latin adverb meaning in the meantime. Inter means between. Interim is the time between. You can use it as a fancy way of referring to a time you squeeze something in. Interims are brought into an organization on a temporary basis to fill a temporary skill shortage. On February 7th, 2023, during a special council meeting, Mr. Lance was brought back to serve up to 2 years to give the city time to find a suitable public safety director. Manager Gray said bringing him back would make for an easy transitional period given the short notice of Edder's leave. Lance will have administrative duties over the fire department in the interim, as he is not a Michigan certified firefighter and will not be able to respond to fire calls with the fire department. This was an article published in the Hillsdale Daily News, February 10th, 2023. We are 7 months into that 2 years already. Are we even looking? Please educate me as to where this is advertised. I can't find it on MCOL's or the city website. According to the staff directory by department, we have 2 full-time officers and 2 part-time officers. The public safety page states that the city has 3 full-time officers and 4 patrol officers that provide Jonesville residents with round-the-clock police protection. This is wrong. We seem to have a hard time finding, hiring, and retaining officers. Is there a problem? The city is going unprotected without police coverage way too often. I do believe that we pay taxes for police coverage. Maybe we all need a refund. It's time to wake up.
Dean Adair, from here.
Don't start your clock yet. My name is Dean K. Adair, Senior, 207 Drayton Street, Jonesville, Michigan, 60-year resident and 60-year taxpayer. Mayor, City Council, City Manager, and fellow citizens, I would like to publicly thank Councilman Grider for his support for Chief Adair and the Jonesville Fire Department during the August meeting. Councilman Grider was the only person to do so and affirm an absolute statement regarding his concern for the safety of our community and the action taken regarding the termination of Chief Adair. I find it ironic that a newly elected council person with no political ties or evidence of cronyism spoke up with a quality seldom found called common sense. If you'd like to raise your hand so people know who you are, that's up to you. So here is our current situation. The city, for all practical purposes, has a depleted fire department. 3 firefighters, including Chief Adair, are no longer in service. All 3 live within 3 to 5 minutes from the fire station. Others are located in various places in and around the city. They're doing the best that they can, but not always able to respond due to their employment. Apparently, the current safety director is also the interim fire chief, who admits that he has no knowledge of certifications regarding firefighting. Moreover, I believe he lives at least an hour away and is only here for 4 days per week. So we are now left to believe the termination of Chief Adair has resolved an issue put forth by the mayor, city manager, city council, and safety director, stating that Chief Adair is not capable with strong leadership for the fire department. 25 years of experience and commitment to this community with never a problem with two previous city managers until Mr. Gray's arrival. In my opinion, the termination of the fire chief is an act of vindictive retaliation and wrongful dismissal orchestrated by the city manager. Don't count on mutual aid from Litchfield or Hillsdale. How long will it take them to get to your fire issue, car accident, or heart attack? These departments have their own service areas. As a taxpayer, I want to know that a fire department and law enforcement will be there in a timely manner. I'm currently doubtful. 2 years ago, I spoke at a meeting like this. I stated that I believe the city leadership seemed to be acting in a manner that questioned the want or need for a fire department. Instead of support, it was constant micromanaging, refusing wage adjustments, and potential COVID hazard pay that was available for the first responders. The fire chief and assistant was accused of acting on a whim regarding the purchase of a fire truck. In my opinion, this all goes back to a current struggle with a contentious city manager supported by an obliging city council. So we pay our taxes, we get an interim part-time police department and a depleted fire department. There is little hope in the future of attracting new applicants to either. This city manager, mayor, and council have created this mess, and the citizens of Jonesville deserve an explanation and a corrective plan of action. I saw a post on Facebook from a prominent citizen asking why the council didn't support Dean. I would suggest you attend a council meeting and you will find very little discussion, no vigorous debates, and almost no questions. I view this current council as simply a rubber stamp for the city manager and mayor. Just like the council meetings, you sit back and never question or speak out about an important decision made by the city manager and mayor. There's an old saying, when everyone is in agreement, someone is not thinking. Councilman Greider brings us hope for change, and we need more individuals like him. When you vote for council positions coming up, make sure you are not adding to the rubber stamp crew. Secondly, the next mayor is the key to eliminating this city manager, who in my opinion is toxic for this community. My guess is someone on this current council will run for mayor. I won't be voting for them unless it's Councilman Greider. In my opinion, Chief Adair was not terminated because of performance issues. It was the city manager's personal agenda. He just needed a covert way to do it, and he found it in the safety director. Just like the bank employee who was silenced 2 years ago because of a disagreement with the city manager. Thank you, Councilman Greider, for your service to this community. And just one other thing. When a person calls in and they request a special meeting so that they can defend themselves against allegations, and your mayor says, do you really want to air your dirty laundry? That's your mayor.
We have no presentations or recognitions, no public hearings, so we're moving on to reports and recommendations. 6A, agreement for election services, joint early voting. Motion to get it on the floor.
So moved, Brenda.
Support of that?
I'll second.
Jim? You want to have some discussion about it?
You previously approved kind of a template agreement concept to work with Hillsdale County on implementing the constitutional state amendment proposal 22-2, which allows for 9 days of early voting ahead of the state and national elections. We're on a timetable due to the legislature's action to make a decision on how we're going to proceed with that. The agreement that is in the packet is consistent with what was presented to you previously. It's been reviewed by legal counsel. It would have the city acting with the other municipalities in the county for one early voting location. Voters would vote at the county in that for the early voting at 9 days prior, and then we would have our precinct open on the day of elections. If we do not opt into the agreement with the county, then we are obligated to run early voting on our own, having a precinct open for 9 days in advance, having our own election inspections, and having that purpose. The deputy county clerk is here if you have particular questions. But again, this is consistent with the action you took previously on this matter.
Cindy, are you all for this
Absolutely,
joined it together with everybody.
absolutely.
I'm curious if Abe has anything he'd like to add. That's all right.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Chief Deputy Clerk Dave Dane, Elections Director for the county. We've been working very diligently with all of the municipal clerks in the county, and this is the plan that we developed together, having multiple meetings. And I just want to point out that this agreement will save the taxpayers a lot of money. Unfortunately, I can't give you firm numbers until we've gone through an election, and especially once we find out what Lansing is going to contribute. And they've so far withhold any dollar amounts yet, but they will be paying for some of the implementation. I'm confident of that. I want to point out to you that the duration of this agreement on page 7 is, first of all, this comes right out of the MCL 168720G, and the minimum term runs through 2025, but because we are only going to implement early voting for state and federal elections, not local special elections, there's only 3 of those next year. So those are the only elections this will be in effect. And then after that, there's a provision in the agreement for any party to withdraw with 30 days notice to all the other parties of the agreement, and then it just can't happen within 150 days of a state and federal election for programming purposes and planning. So there is an opt-out. But anyone that does early voting, any municipality that does it, they would either have to do it on their own or have an agreement with other municipalities. Additional equipment would still need to be purchased, even if your precinct here were to operate it, you'd have to have additional tabulators because they have to be programmed differently for early voting. One of the bigger challenges is finding election inspectors. So what we did with this agreement, if you look at Exhibit B, is we really wanted to emphasize that the county's not trying to run this precinct. We are working with the municipal clerks, and there will be a site supervisor that will be overseeing the precinct every day that it's open, and they will bring their election inspectors to work in that precinct. So the county's role here is really just to facilitate everybody coming together, saving money, making sure we have the equipment and everything's in place, and then the municipal clerks will be overseeing that precinct. Other than that, the addendum A, which is the estimated budget, everything in that would be split 22 ways. They currently have 18 agreements, and there's 22 in the county, so we're almost to completion on this. The only thing that wouldn't be split evenly would be the notice, because in the election law, anytime you set up or change a precinct, you have to send a notice out to all the registered voters. That would be based on how many registered voters are in each precinct when we bill that out for reimbursement. But the county's gonna take care of that initially to save money on postage and a bulk print job. So that's all I have. If there are any other questions.
Any other questions, council?
So you're confident that you can handle all of the people from all of these counties in one location, or
All of the municipalities in the county? Yeah, the clerk community in this county talked about that. We had considered multiple sites, but we thought first of all, you've got 9 days, so you've got your choice there. But also, if voters in our county are going to expand into another option, they'd probably more likely become part of the permanent voter, like absentee voting, because you can do that from the comfort of your home and do your own research on who you can vote for. So if anything is going to expand, we think it'll probably be that. There will certainly be use of the early voting, especially on the weekends. We're gonna be open 1 weeknight until I think 7 is what we've planned. So we don't expect there to be, long lines at this precinct, but if there are, it'll only be brief amounts of time during maybe those weekend hours, so. Mhm.
The cost will be split up amongst all the municipalities, I believe I read.
Evenly,
Evenly.
yes, with the exception of that notice that we would print and send out, yeah.
And just to be clear, I can still go to my precinct on election day.
That's correct, this
Cast
is,
my ballot.
this is an additional option that was, this early voting, in our minds, we thought you can early vote with an absentee ballot. So the only difference here is that you can actually physically put your ballot in a tabulator in this early voting precinct. Votes will not be tallied until election night after 8 p.m. That's in the law. It's actually, I believe, a felony to tally the votes and release that information ahead of time. So that will not happen. It'll just be tabulated, and that the ballot, physical ballot, will be secured at the end of each night with the others, and then the votes won't be counted and tallied until election night. So just an additional option.
Any other questions, council? Hearing none, all those in favor of the agreement, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? We have agreed.
Thank you.
Moving on to 6B, Resolution 2023-09, revised property exemption, asset standard. Motion to get it on the floor.
So moved.
Alicia. Support? Andy Van Rosen.
Yep, the city is obligated to have standards in place for those who experience poverty to be able to come in and ask the board of review for an exemption to payment of property taxes. We put a resolution in place annually. I did that at the beginning of the year. During our audit this year, the state of Michigan requested a change to that. We have historically allowed for the board of review to consider unique circumstances associated with a person's request. The state of Michigan does not want the board to execute any discretion, so we are required to modify our standards so that they must simply follow the asset and income standards. Those standards are established by the federal government. So this is amended to meet the request of the state of Michigan based on our audit review. We had a clean audit otherwise.
Any other questions? Review? Madam Clerk, roll call vote.
Alicia Padula,
Yes.
Tim Bowman,
Yes.
Chris Kreider,
Yes.
Brenda Geis,
Yes.
George Humphries, Andy Penrose,
Yes.
Jerry Arno.
Yes.
We have all yeses, your motion is passed.
Resolution 2023-09 passed. On to 6C, payment of invoices, Small Main Street Construction Project. Motion to get it on the floor.
So moved, Brenda Geis.
Support for that?
I'll second.
Tim Bowman. Any questions? Yes, sir.
The only thing, we still had some issues with the lawns and not being seeded properly and having a lot of bare spots on the lawns.
Yeah, there is a punch list, so we're not paid out entirely on the project. There is a punch list that's been developed, and that issue is on the punch list and has not yet been resolved. So we're not done yet in the project. The contractor is not paid out in full at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Hold back on that.
There's still about 23% of the project to be paid.
Good. Any other questions? All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Payment on the invoice. Moving on to 6D, MML liability and property pool board of directors. Motion to get it on the floor.
So moved, Brenda Geis.
Second.
Alicia Pluto. Any questions?
I have one.
Yes, Brenda.
Is this a new board?
No, they have, the board exists, they have positions that come up on a rotating basis. So you get these ballots on a fairly routine several.
Oh, remember, property pool board.
Okay, so this is the city's liability insurance carrier.
Oh,
And
okay.
so, it's a municipal insurance carrier, and so it's made up of a board of directors that have municipal representation. So as you see from the credentials, it can be staff people, it can be elected officials. So if you are interested, you can write yourself in and
No.
be part of that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
in favor of approving the ML Liability Property Pool Board of Directors ballot, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ballot's been approved. On to 6E, fiscal year 2023 fourth quarter budget comparison. Information.
Provide for information, if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
Tax bills are in. Anybody have any questions? Moving on, 6F, council memo, personnel procedure, all read that, any questions? If not, thanks for clarifying. Okay.
I have a question about the 710C. It says if the city operates its own police and fire department, the police chief and/or fire chief shall be appointed by the city manager after consultation with the city council on the basis of education, ability, training, and experience. The city manager shall supervise these department chiefs and have authority of dismissal. But there's like a whole sentence missing. Not, I mean, if it has to go through us to hire people, it doesn't have to go through us to fire people.
It doesn't have to go through.
So
the
what,
higher
so
court.
how can we change that?
You have to change your charter.
Okay, so,
That's an election of the citizens.
so that would go on the ballot for the citizens to vote on?
To do a charter, you would have to amend the charter.
Right. So how do we go about doing that?
There's a process that you would have to go through, it's relatively cumbersome. Understand that these kinds of elections, pretty expensive, the city gets to pay for them. But there is, you have the right to amend your charter. This language is, pretty standard for a manager council form of government. The alternative form of government is what's called a strong mayor form of government. And the problem in this day and age, particularly for municipalities of this size, is you don't likely have a citizen in the city who has the understanding and expertise on things like municipal finance and grants and that type of thing to be able to run the city. That's why manager form has its advantages. It's also sort of, the empirical evidence is there tends to be less corruption when you have a manager council form of government as opposed to a strong mayor. And back at the old days in Chicago, you know, the mayor's on the take and that's what's going on. That's not what's going on in this community. You don't have to agree with the things that the city manager does. The council is essentially the supervisory board of the city manager serves at the pleasure of the council. So,
But if that's if the city manager serves at the pleasure of the council, then those decisions should be ran through the council. That doesn't make any sense.
no, that's not the way the structure is set up.
And this was left over from the village.
Yeah, from 1987, I believe.
Okay.
So this is from the charter in 1987 when Jonesville was a village. The way that
Well, then there was a new
Charter.
city charter in 2014.
right, which this is the same as it was in 1987. It didn't get changed at that time.
It's remarkably similar to the Hillsdale's charters.
Any other questions? Moving on to 7A. Let's get our regular meeting minutes approved. Motion get on the floor.
So moved.
Okay.
Second, Brenda Guy.
Brenda, second. Any questions about the minutes from the regular meeting? No. Okay. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Minutes have been approved. Accounts payable, September 23rd, of $157,018.04.
I move that we pay the bills.
I will second that.
Any questions about it? We've gone over them.
I have none.
Hearing none, all in favor of approving the accounts payable, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Accounts been paid. motion to get them on the floor? To accept?
So moved.
I'll second.
Tim Bowman? Yeah. Any question about those minutes? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of accepting those minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Minutes are accepted. Department reports.
We'll start with Director Lance, Public Safety.
For the council summaries, you can see I provided both police department and fire department summary, just by sort of a summary of activity for June, July, and August. A little bit different than the fire side. For us, June was our busiest month of the summer, with 66 reports and 100 responses. July, we were just 36 reports, so a little bit slower. In August, 55. The summaries there, one number that does stand out is the public roadway accidents. We had 8, which is a little bit higher than usual. We're usually in the 4 to 6 range for public roadway accidents, so we're a little bit higher in August. Other than that, generally looks a lot like most other months. One of the things that we have been dealing with a little bit is for the benefit of council and for the residents here, telephone scams in terms of people calling, requesting money, iCards, telling you that somebody's in jail, some of your loved ones are in jail, that they call callers and there's people in the background screaming, saying that they need these supplies with money. We've had about 4 or 5 of those reports, so just a little bit be wary of that and who you send money to. We've had a couple of residents who sent iTunes cards and believing that they were going to buy a loved one out. So you may have heard about that scam out in the county. It's happened here also in town. So in terms of just staffing levels, for the police department, we do have currently 2 full-time staff and 2 part-time. We are short right now. We have put out requests for interest in our jobs right now. Policing overall in all communities is having trouble attracting candidates. With that said, we provided 1 ride along this month for someone that's interested in the job. We have another one coming up this Friday for homecoming. So we're actively seeking people to work here, but every department, as you know, is stretched thin in terms of being able to get qualified personnel out of the academies. Academies are backed up now. Washtenaw Community College is running an extra academy because of state dollars that are available. We may participate in that if we have a qualified candidate. However, the state will pay for the dollars. We have to pay for some of the training and also some of the money for them to go to the academy. So that's something that we're looking into. In terms of equipment, council okayed back in July purchase of 2 Motorola 800 megahertz radios. Those are on back order, so we're looking at another 4 months or so before those are received. So that's kind of where we're at on that level. On the fire side, staffing requests the council asked about. Currently, we're staffed with 12 personnel at the fire department. We have 11 firefighters and 1 that's on requested a leave of absence and is on that now. We have 1 EMT who's scheduled to go to November schools for firefighter 1 and 2. So that's where our staffing level is now. Just for your knowledge, did a little bit of, as I did for the police department, June, July, and August summaries. For the fire department, June was their busiest month. We had 22 responses with average of 6 personnel responding to those calls. July, we had 16 emergency responses with an average of 6 personnel to the response on those calls. The numbers could vary from as few as 3 to as many as 10, depending on what the call was and the day of the week and time. August, we had 14 emergency responses. An average during August was 7 personnel response. Again, the average could go from as little as 3 to 10, depending on the incident. So far in September, we've had 8 runs dispatched with an average of 6 personnel responding to each of those calls. That's just a little update for you on where we're at personnel-wise. We have had 1 interested party ask questions about joining the fire department, so we're entertaining that at this point. Equipment updates for the fire department. 572, which is a grass firefighting rig, and a front rear differential seal done at Stillwell's this month. It's also the same unit that had a new siren and a siren control box put in. As far as the other vehicle, which is our tanker truck, it has passed its leak test. Promec has now turned it over to T-Line. They did some adjustment on the valves, which allow the water to be taken off that truck. They did the leak test again. They're doing a final installation of the lip and some other pumps and valves. Another company called Dependable will be doing a pump test on that before it's released back to us. And also a check of that to make sure the tank meets all specs that you guys okayed back in last November. In terms of other things in the station right now, last month, the carpets were cleaned in the offices and in the fire department, and the floors there were stripped and wet. If you have any questions about particular incidents or anything, glad to try to answer those.
So on our trucks, are they up to date now? Because I knew a year ago or so, maybe a couple years ago, we were up for inspections and upliftings.
So this summer, all our hoses were tested by an independent company. They came and tested all hose ladders. We met standards on all of them. We had 2 nozzles that failed. Those are on order right now. They're supposed to be in September, but they're back ordered. In terms of the pumping capacity of the trucks, pumps were tested by Dependable. They're a company that we've contracted with in the past. They've come to the fire department and tested those units to make sure that they're pumping water correctly and that they're operating correctly.
Other questions for Director Lance? Moving on to superintendent Hughes.
Good evening. The plant was in compliance for the month of August. Our new limits will go up in October, so we'll be able to hit those with no problem. Wastewater, we did 147 or 145 bacteria tests, 23 nitrate and 16 nitrate. The total is written there at 955 for bacteria, 185 in nitrates, and 91 for the year on nitrites. We also attended annual training at MIS for the MWRA and a PFAS seminar in Lansing. There will be more tests done on the PFAS side because they're bringing in more of the PFAS. They're adding more types of it. Is there any questions for me?
Questions for Ed?
Just kudos on the continued education. It's really important to me to see all of our employees continue to get education. We appreciate your efforts. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Hughes? Mr. Kaiser is on vacation this month. His written report is in the packet. I'm happy to answer any questions or take any questions and get answers if you have them. If there are none, we'll move on to Mrs. Farmer, financial report.
I have nothing unless somebody has a question for me.
Any questions for Lenore? Mrs. Means, anything for the order?
Very thankful tax season is somewhat over, at least the big part of it. I'm going tomorrow to pick up all my supplies for the school election in November. So I'll be getting all the absentee ballots mailed out, hopefully Friday or Monday at least. Just working on that.
Are there a lot of them?
A lot of,
Absentee
almost
ballot?
400.
400?
We will be a single precinct for that election, for the entire Jonesville School District. Any other questions for Cindy? Mr. Lozier, anything to go to order? Okay. Just a couple things on my report. I sent you the information about the grant application for the renovation of the upper floors of this building. We did appoint a committee, you appointed a committee several months ago to evaluate potential use of that space for additional city space. The state's grant request came out before we really had the report finished, so we got the architect to work with us to get that completed so we can get the grant application in. Request is for $2.5 million to assist with that project. We should find out in November. It's a highly competitive grant. It's about $60 million. It's expected that folks are applying all over the state on, so keep your fingers crossed on that. We will be moving forward with the pieces of bringing the evaluation back to the committee for their review and discussion. Not obligated to take the grant, but we felt it worthwhile to just get that in the works. The DEA, as I reported, has has met several times over the last couple of years on a study, what they're calling a road diet study for US 12. We are close to a concept that the MDOT would like to have us put out to a public meeting, and we're working right now on the availability of our engineers for the purpose of that meeting. It will take place either October 16th or October 30th, so stay tuned. That'll be at 7 p.m. At the police department. We only have one meeting. We'll be getting word out and advertising that date when we have it finalized. Just want to put that on your radar so you can take a look at your calendars. Last piece is not really necessarily city related directly, but the Jonesville Business Association has been actively meeting. They have been holding meetings on Riverfest, which I know is of interest to lots in the community and what the future of Riverfest ought to look like. They held one public meeting last month. We've allowed them to use the city spaces for those meetings, and their next meeting is tomorrow night at 7 p.m. It'll be in this space. So if you're interested in keeping up on Riverfest or volunteering, they would be happy to have you here. That's all I have. Unless there's questions.
Andy?
Well, I have just a very brief report from Region 2. The recreation plan should be ready in November for viewing on the website, and hopefully they're going to have final approval for our recreation plan in January.
Thank you. George?
I got a few things. Neil Finnegan served 50 years on the fire department, and according to his family, he did not get a thank you or letter or anything. So that happened or not, I really don't know, but it claims it did. I hope it didn't, but we should have something here for that. Dean, 25 years, gone. We have no idea how it happened. I don't have any idea. I don't think Chris did either. But what else going on? Rick Riggs provided a fire truck a few years ago that was $20,000 under budget. We got safety. Edgar, come safety officer, found the truck and ended up being $20,000 over, and we're still messing with that truck today. And now, Edgar, I thought, did a good job, and also one day he's gone. Just like with the fire chief. I know we got shortages of that. People have come to me in the city, called me at work, at home, about what's going on with the police, fire. I told them, I said, call City Hall. I said, I can answer what I can. Go and talk to your fire chief or your fire representative, Lance. Talk to them, they'll answer your questions. The biggest thing is, if there's that much animosity between the fire department and the police department, and what's going on, maybe I just abolish it, sell it to Fayette Township and not worry about it. I hate to say that, but there's just a lot going on. And I don't know what the real answer is. I'd say, I'd make a motion and hire Dean back, but I don't think if I was Dean, I'd have second opinions of coming back. Other than that, that's all I have.
Brenda?
Nothing.
Chris?
Oh, well, thanks for everybody coming today, showing support for Dean. I want to thank Dean for the time that he spent in our community. Unfortunately, the way the charter is worded, as we talked about earlier, we as council were not made aware of any of this before it happened. It happened, and then we were told. That's how it happened. We were informed, but not until afterwards. No one on this council, to my knowledge, knew beforehand. I mean, to my knowledge, I don't think council got together and bashed Dean. I don't think that's what happened at all. I think everybody in the city supports Dean. There were vendettas, obviously, from years past. I don't know anything about that stuff. My question to the city, is it worth all this? I mean, is it worth all this? I mean, I think Dean would be a good firefighter for our city, like he always was. That's it.
Tim?
I want to thank the folks that are on the fire department right now. guys showed up within 8 minutes of my phone call to 911. Within 8 minutes, the guys were there. They took care of the situation. To me, they provided excellent service. And I think it's important for, no matter how you feel about the situation, it's important that you support the guys that we have right now. From the guys who live in Fayette, the guys who live in the city of Jonesville, Scipio, wherever. We have aid, mutual aid with the city of Litchfield. I thank those guys all the time in my heart. The same thing with Hillsdale. It's important that we support our firefighters the best we can. You might not always agree with what goes on, but it's tough right now. I want you to support each other the best you can. I want you to be kind to each other. This isn't Jonesville. What I see right now is not Jonesville.
It's not.
I want,
It's not.
I want.
It used to be a family community.
That's right, we need to get back.
Used to be.
So, yeah, so you can agree to disagree, but at the same time, it's important that we support the guys that we have. Those guys need our support. They're working their butts off.
Please.
I just want to thank all the police and fire, everyone that risks their lives to keep us safe, and all the city employees that work hard to keep the city running smoothly. To get me a packet out early so I can read it 2 times before I come in here and know what I'm looking at and what we're doing, and keep us efficient and effective in running the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Appreciate your comments. We'll end the meeting here at 7:22.
I'd like to, appreciate your answers. I'd like to ask a question.
Talk to a council person after the meeting.
If none of you, how is this happening?
Don't you have any thoughts after